As we head into Christmas, with all its pressure to be joyful and perfect, does your life feel more like a tangled mess than a celebration? If so, then you're not alone. But what if this Christmas, that very mess is the raw material for your miracle? The end of the year feels like a final exam, doesn't it? We look back, hoping to see a neat line of successes, but a lot of us just see a jumble. We see the frayed edges of relationships that broke down, the knots of confusion from prayers that seem unanswered, and the tangled threads of plans that just completely fell apart. It feels like a mess. And then Christmas arrives, shining a bright light on everything, demanding joy and celebration, which can honestly make the shadows of our own messes feel even darker. It's so easy to look at our lives from this angle, from underneath the mess, and only see chaos. From our perspective, it's just a random pile of tangled, knotted threads. There's no clear pattern or picture. We see the sorrow, the struggle, the loose ends, and we start to wonder, what is God even doing? Does he see this? Was this whole year just a loss? It's a lonely feeling, being surrounded by carols of peace and joy when all you can feel is the tension in your own story. But here's a truth that can change everything. What if I told you that God isn't looking at the underside of your fabric? He's the master weaver, and from his perspective, he sees a magnificent tapestry that he's creating with your life. He sees the full design, crafted with incredible skill and purpose. The Bible gives us a promise that anchors this very idea. It's found in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, and it says this: "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them." Now, this verse isn't a promise of an easy, pain-free life. It doesn't say that all things are good. It says God works in all things for our good. The good he is working towards is our transformation into the people he created us to be. He doesn't waste our pain. He rewrites it. Every single thread, no matter the colour, dark or light, joyful or sorrowful, has a purpose in his hands. We don't have to look any further than the very first Christmas to see this in action. The Christmas story, the one we picture with beautiful, serene nativity scenes, was actually incredibly messy. It was a story of a miracle showing up right in the middle of a mess. Think about Mary, a young, engaged girl who suddenly finds out she's pregnant, and not by her fiancé. Her entire life was turned completely upside down. She was facing confusion, public shame, and overwhelming fear. It was a mess. And what about Joseph, a good, righteous man who discovers his betrothed is pregnant and he knows the child isn't his? His plans, his future, his reputation, it was all thrown into chaos. He was ready to end the relationship quietly just to spare her shame. His life was a mess too. From their perspective, from the underside of the tapestry, it must have looked like an absolute disaster. But they both chose obedience, right in the middle of their uncertainty. Mary said, "I am the Lord's servant. May everything you have said about me come true." Joseph, after his own visit from an angel, chose to trust God and take Mary as his wife. And through their messy, complicated and frightening situation, God wove the greatest miracle in history, the birth of Jesus, our Emmanuel, which means God with us. Their story proves that God doesn't just work despite the mess, he works through it. God is still in the business of weaving miracles out of messes. That struggle that you faced this year, that disappointment that still stings, that question you're almost afraid to ask. It's not a discarded thread. It is the very material God is using to shape something beautiful in your life. He's inviting you to trust the weaver's hands, even when you can't see the final picture. Now, if this message encouraged you today, please consider subscribing and maybe share it with someone who needs to hear it this Christmas. I would be so encouraged to read your story in the comments. What is one tangled thread from this year that you're trusting God to weave into his beautiful plan? Let's end with a prayer. Lord, thank you that you are the master weaver. We confess that we so often only see the knots and the tangled threads on the underside of our lives, and we lose hope. Help us to trust the work you are doing, even when we can't see the full picture. This Christmas, help us to believe that the messes we're in are the very places where your miracles are being born. Keep shaping us in your love. Amen. I'm Westwood-Payne, and this has been the Battle Drill Daily Devotional.